What's up, everybody? Hope you all had a great weekend. And now, time to get back to the baseball grind here. We've got a big contest over on DraftKings, the $222 buy-in contest, which pays out, what is it, $250,000 to first place, something like that today, Eric. So we got some big contests in the lobby. We're going to break down the DraftKings, the FanDuel slate. We're going to answer any questions you guys have. So do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you do have questions for us in your Stokastic sub, hit me up in Discord. If you're not a Stokastic sub, you can sign up for any of the packages that we have here through the link down below in the YouTube description box, or you just head on over to Stokastic and sign up for a package. All packages come with access to Discord. You could also take advantage of any of our affiliate partners, sign up for any of these ones here on screen through the link that is down below. It has to be through that link down below just to get access to the trackable links, the promo codes, and you will get access to 1 free month of single sport sims of your choosing. Sign up for as many of these as you want. If you are having issues navigating the page, you can DM me on Twitter and I'll make sure I get you the proper links. But easy way to do it is just go through that page down below. Eric, how was your weekend?
It was good. Obviously busy, just kind of back on the MLB grind. Tons of excited people to be back in the Discord, kicking it here after the All-Star break. And I can't blame them. WNBA was, it was profitable, 4-1 on outrights. No big deal. But NBA Summer League just tailed DK DFS over the course of the week. Had a couple of winners over there. The guy's the GOAT there. And yeah, just kind of trying to carry the tail end of the first half of the MLB season, trying to run with that here and get off on a good foot here in the second half.
There we go. Nice pun. I don't think it was intended, but it was a good pun. I don't know if you picked up on what you said.
I didn't.
You had said you were talking about tails packages, and you said the tail end of the season.
Oh, that's adorable. Look at me. I'm adorable.
Good to see you clearly did it intentionally. Very clearly intentional. Yeah. So, YouTube chat. I see getting a lot of engagements early here. Some people are talking about their favorite pitchers in there, which that's what Eric and I are about to get into. This is a very, very, very difficult slate for pitchers. And the field kind of feels the same way as well. There is not a single pitcher now that the dust has settled, Eric. I mean, not entirely, because there'll be still some updates to come. But now that we've gotten closer to lock, not a single pitcher more than 24% owned. I can't remember this happening in a minute, honestly.
Yeah, it's been a while since we haven't had like a Zach Wheeler, I'm just trying to even think I just wish the 5 games earlier were on this slate, because Yuri Perez, Paul Skeens in 5 innings, still with a 6.5K prop. There's so many intriguing early pitchers, but yeah, only 10 games the way that they sliced this up, with 5 games going off here at that, 6:45 p.m. Eastern time window. I still think you're being a little bit harsh. This is a good slate. I think this is a really, really good tournament slate. I always say that my favorite MLB tournament slates are the one that I win, and I don't really care how, but I do think going into this one, we've got some pivots off of some mega chalk in the stack department. And then from a pitching perspective, it's so spread out that you can either just play your guys, or you can take some deep shots, because there's some really low owned pieces that are intriguing to me. There's also everybody's in the teens, because everybody's going to take shots on this guy or that guy. And we have Noah Cameron. What's his limitations going to be? What are Brandon Woodruff? What's his pitch count going to be? So many of those kind of guys that I've thought about a lot from a betting perspective, but from a DFS perspective, gets cleaned up here because ownership, salaries, those are things. So we're going to have some fun.
You mean you like the slates where you win? Explain. No, I can't. I like the slates where there's bad weather and it fucks me for no reason. You like the slates where you win? We have different interests.
Shockingly. Yeah, no, shocking that I enjoy those ones. I haven't had my, I always have 1 or 2 of those 30 or 50K kind of MLB wins. I'm still waiting on it, but that $5 awfully fun. I was going to fire 1 in that 2. We'll see as we progress on this. It hasn't filled yet, has it?
It may have. Let's see.
Nope, it's still nope. They got the second iteration of it, because I had a ticket, and so I was just do I use it now, or do I save it for NFL Week 1? And a couple of those where it's you don't want to just waste it. So I usually like to build the single lineup, while we're on the show together and talking through certain spots. That's what I've always had the most success for the last couple of years, is just you and I bouncing ideas off of each other, or guys that we think are a little bit too low owned or too high owned, and trying to find leverage. But won't be doing that today, because I'm not going to use it to win 10K. That's for sure.
So let's go ahead and start looking at some of the pitchers because it is tricky here, Eric. We have no pitchers priced above 10K on DraftKings, but we do have a handful of pitchers who are 9 to 10K. Carlos Rodon is $10,000. Brandon Woodruff is $9,600. Kodai Senga is $9,300. George Kirby is $9,200. Shane Baz is $9K. And none of these pitchers more than 25% on. 24% ownership to Baz, 24% ownership to Kirby, 19% ownership to Woodruff, and then you got single-digit ownership to Rodon and Senga. All things being considered, who is your favorite pitcher that is 9K or more expensive?
Shane Baz. This just comes down to what his upside is in this specific spot. Is it a freaky ballpark? Yes. Is there weather that's just going to be lingering around all summer that hasn't come out to bite a pitcher yet, but definitely could? Yes. But the one thing that I always find to be interesting about Shane Baz, one, just didn't have a great start to his season, but then has found ways to start mowing dudes down. But he's one of those dudes that there is such pronounced reverse splits with the strikeout department that you have to embrace it. And the more lefties, there's going to be some troublesome spots, but his pitch mix is so effective against lefties. And you just go down the line for, what the White Sox are rolling out here in this spot. You get Tauchman up top, Benintendi in the 3-hole. Kyle Teal is catching today, batting 5th. Colson Montgomery and Brooks Baldwin, who will be a switch hitter. So 5 lefties. And then the righties aren't good. Chase Meidroth. Miguel Vargas has, been decent, and he's somebody who I'm actually getting a lot in the bat department in non-Shane Baz lineups. But Shane Baz, 42% of my lineups, my highest owned pitcher at the moment.
Yeah, hard to disagree with that. And to add a little bit more context to what Eric said, Baz this year has a 28.5% strikeout rate against lefties, 19.4% against righties. And then if we go overall to his career and look at the career splits for strikeout rate against lefties versus righties, it's not quite as pronounced, but still paints a similar picture. 25.5% against lefties, 22.5% against righties. Going forward, do I think he's going to have a nearly 30% strikeout rate against lefties and sub 20 against righties? Not quite that aggressively, but I do think that he's going to strike out more lefties than righties going forward, as he's done throughout his career. And then also, you just look at some of the other pitchers on the slate and what their matchups are, and he just so clearly has an easier matchup than any of the other pitchers that are going, especially on the top end, where Rodon is on the road in Toronto. You got Woodruff, who's pitching against the Mariners in Seattle and might have some light pitch count restrictions there. Kodai Senga actually is a really easy matchup, but you have to consider what some of the restrictions are with him as well. Then George Kirby is pitching against the Brewers. Shane Baz gets the White Sox. So considering that matchup, I don't feel great about a lot of pitchers on this slate, but if we're trying to figure out who we're going to recommend as cash game options, he definitely feels the safest of these high-end guys.
Yeah, and I mean, if you go through his table, which is kind of, my first step of breaking down pitchers, what are we basically looking at? What are projection models looking at for specific guys? And, there's ways of being able to finagle it night before, and I've gotten better at that over the years. But the one thing with Shane Baz is the knuckle curve. When the knuckle curve is on, it doesn't matter who he faces. He is going to mow down everybody. When that pitch is a little ineffective, it's problematic, but it's a pitch that really jumped out in 2024 when he started introducing it more and more and more. Threw it 247 times last year. This season, 488 times. The stuff plus is 127. We're talking real big boy pitcher with that pitch specifically. And it's far more lethal with the break, with the pattern of it against lefties than it is against righties. So they're not even very good lefties that we have outside of Benintendi on this White Sox team, where Benintendi's a little bit above league average, nothing more, nothing less.
Any other pitchers that are important to you that are priced above 9K or 9K and above? I like Shane Baz, but we've got, Woodruff pulling some ownership, George Kirby, but even that you're prioritizing for tonight.
Yeah, the other one is really, well, I guess speaking of knuckle curves, we might as well just bring up Kevin Gausman here. 25.4% K rate for him against
righties. He's at 8,500 though.
Oh, sorry, we didn't go below it. Okay,
yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
my bad.
All good. I just for organizational purposes. Anything else you're prioritizing above 9?
Not prioritizing, but I want to ask you what you think Brandon Woodruff's upside for pitch count is today.
I find it very unlikely that we're going to be getting the full go out of him in terms of pitches. But if we're talking about, I'd say 90 pitches.
90, I would be jamming him.
I mean, he threw 80. He had 81 in his last
No,
start.
70, 81. Does he jump up to 90, 95 here? Because if he does, I'm going to be really mad that I didn't jam him against a Mariners team that obviously has started. Like, we've seen signs of life from Julio Rodriguez. Randy Arozarena is certified back, as the kids would say. And Cal Raleigh, he appears to be good at baseball. So there's definitely some pieces on the Seattle side that you got to be a little bit concerned about. And against righties on the season, they've been good. 116 WRC plus. You get Polanco from his preferred side. Dominic Canzone, Luke Raley have been really good lefties. Rowdy Tellez, they were able to kind of part with once they got Luke Raley back because he is a superior hitter. So there's been upside. I mean, this was a team that was at a 107 WRC plus entering the month, and 3 weeks later, they are sitting up there in the top 6 in baseball in WRC plus against righties. But Brandon Woodruff, I don't know what to make of this strikeout stuff. It's been ridiculous through 2 outings. And do I think Miami and Washington are indicative of what you're going to get against Seattle? No, but this is an awesome ballpark. And he's definitely the guy that's going to get squeezed out of Kirby, Baz, Gausman, even Gallen starting to pull a lot more ownership here because of the 9,600 price tag on a Coors Field slate. I think he gets squeezed because of the pitch count concerns. And there's a part of me that wants to pull the trigger and just, you know what, if I'm going to ROI boost anybody, go to Brandon Woodruff and click it. Because if he came in 15%, Greg, it would not shock me at all.
Yeah, so like I don't think he's going to get a full allotment of pitches, but he threw 81 in his last start. So I think somewhere around the neighborhood of 90 is pretty realistic. You know, I don't think they're going to push him to have to go super deep into the game, but he pitched 6 innings his first start back. And there are oftentimes teams are hesitant to give pitchers 6 innings, regardless of what their pitch count is, just because the getting up, sitting down, getting up, warming up in between innings. So like I said, final summation. I don't think that we're going to see a full allotment of pitches, but I don't think it's crazy restrictive either. And then a part of it too is just going to be, does he have any high stress innings? Because I do think that if he ends up getting his pitch count up to like 30 pitches an inning or something like that, then they'll pull him. So there is downside there. But yeah, I don't think it's anything that makes him unplayable.
No, it's not that it would be unplayable. It's just like Carlos Rodon. We know when you're facing Toronto, you're not going to have strikeout upside. And it's really hard for me to look at, a lefty going up against Toronto 106 WRC plus on the season and only an 18.2% K rate against left-handed pitching. So Southpaws aren't finding success getting Ks there. That's pretty easy to write off for me in terms of contrarian. And it's not that Brandon Woodruff is contrarian. And do I think he's this good? No, I do not. But it's just so hard for me to get a gauge of where the field ends up going. And we do this every single day where we kind of get a gauge of like who could get squeezed, who couldn't. And when you go and build in the sims here, just kind of like running it outright, you end up about neutral to him. You end up a little bit under even, in fact, in most runs that you get over there. George Kirby also getting, a little bit underweight too. I feel most confident in the Baz Gausman side, and we'll get into Gausman a little bit, but like, I do feel as though Brandon Woodruff might be the forgotten guy on a Coors Field slate, and it makes me want to boost him a little bit just to get over that 20% number.
I'm good with being even with the field on him. I do want to talk a little bit about George Kirby, who I don't necessarily love, but he's my second favorite pitcher in the 9K plus range. And the reason for that is, other than he's been really good in the past, but got off to a slate, he was dealing with injuries to open up the year, ended up starting the season late. He has very clearly slowly gotten better as the season's gone on. You can see it in all of his metrics across the board. So strikeout rate by month for George Kirby, 19%, 24.8%, and then so far in July, 32%. Then you also look at the FIPS by month, 7.48, 3.21, 2.65. So you just consider that he's clearly getting better as the season's gone on. I think he's back to being a top of the rotation sort of pitcher. The strikeouts have been there as of late, so that's nice. I'm not going to jam him or anything like that, but I think that he's at least worthy of consideration if you have the ability to pay up for another pitcher outside of Shane Baz and George Kirby. But my real priority on the high end, it is certainly Baz. So let's work into the 8K range now. You seem itching to talk about Kevin Gausman because you already brought him up. He's one of only 2 pitchers that are priced in the 8K range. It's Gausman, Noah Cameron. I have no interest in Cameron at 2%.
Really? I have so much interest in Cameron. Like,
okay.
This is the guy that I was going to bring up as like my favorite tournament play on the entire slate. I mean, I said his name earlier in the show, bringing it up, and somebody went like, who? And I'm like, yeah, no, like I think the field is absolutely wrong about Noah Cameron. So a couple of different things. One, the Kansas City said that they were going to start monitoring his pitch counts. And then he goes out and throws 109 and 93 in his last two before the break. This is his first start in 8 days. He pitched on the 13th. They gave him an extended break, 109 and 93. He hadn't exceeded the 88 pitch mark. And of course, I ended up on the under of his outs because, I thought Kansas City, I'll take them at their word. They ended up pushing him all the way, 7 and 6 2/3 in his last two outings. And the guy is just good. He is a much better than an 8K pitcher. You add in that this is Wrigley Field with the wind blowing in, so it's a very advantageous pitching spot. What am I missing, Greg? Why is this guy 2%? Because he is the guy, the one person that I went into the Sims, and I was like, I cannot figure out why the field has no interest in this dude whatsoever.
I can tell you why I don't have interest in him. He's pitching against the Cubs, which despite the wind, it's still the Cubs. It's still a pretty tough matchup. And he doesn't generate strikeouts either. He has a 21% strikeout rate for the season. And then you also look at projection models for the rest of the year, and it's pretty unanimous in terms of what he's expected to be going forward. It's a guy with a strikeout rate around 20%, and then the ERA somewhere in the mid-ish fours, like 4.3, 4.4 range. So just consider all those factors, and there's just other guys that I'd rather be rostering for today. Like I don't think he comes with considerable upside. And even though he did have that one outing where he threw a lot of pitches, they've been generally sort of cautious with his pitch count and kept him in like that mid-80 range with pitches. So that is where I think he's going to live for the most part in the second half of the season.
Okay. I mean, those are all great points, but my point is that he's 2% owned on a slate where you don't really like any of the other pitchers. This is obviously good pitching weather. We know that Wrigley is the most wind-affected field in baseball. Number one, no close second, and the wind is blowing in 10 miles per hour, gusting up to 12. Looking pretty good there. And as you said before, like you get Nico Horner leading off, that's a disaster as opposed to Ian Happ. Nico Horner does not strike out at all. But my point is that they're giving him a long leash, and he just got an entire all-star break. He got the extended break that some of these guys are getting, coming off of 100 plus and 93. If you just even put him in at like 90, 95, there's a chance of going 6-7 in this kind of weather in this spot. So again, am I saying to jam? No, but he is a 2% pitcher that I'm going to play close to 20% of when it's all said and done.
Yeah, Capanicella wants to know who we're rolling with in single entry. We'll get to that in a second here when we get to some of the offenses. I feel pretty good about my lineup now. Pitching definitely going to be a little bit of a crapshoot today. By the way, I have a pitcher I really like for tournaments. Somebody who I've liked in tournaments throughout the year. And I've been a little bit on an island with him, so I'm kind of hoping it's going to be the case again.
Jacob Schmopez.
Yeah, Jacob Lopez. I mean, so like the things that you said about Noah Cameron, I feel like I've been saying about Jacob Lopez for the entire season.
Jacob Lopez has way better strikeout stuff, so I'm with you. But one is pulling absolutely zero ownership, and the other one's pulling 10%. So it is what it is. Not that it matters that much. I mean, Jacob Lopez looks great, and I'm in agreement with you.
And then as far as Gausman goes in the $8,500 range, I hate the matchup against the Yankees, but I feel like I just get filtered to him in a bunch of lineups because nobody's priced around him.
Correct. That's really what it comes down to, is he's the guy who has pretty pronounced upside. We know what we're going to get with him. If the splitter is good, again, not knuckle curve. So again, it's just like a specialty pitch, but you go to the splitter here for Kevin Gausman. If the splitter's splitting, the guy's got north of a 25% K rate against righties, and you get Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Paul Goldschmidt, Anthony Volpe, Peraza, 5 of them. And I would say, obviously, Judge is like the best righty in baseball. And then you've got Stanton, who does not suck. Confirmed. He had like 3 singles in a row to start off a game yesterday. It was driving me nuts watching it. Like Stanton just stabbing 110 mile per hour singles into the gaps. It was the weirdest thing ever, but that's neither here nor there. That's just nerdy baseball, Eric. But 5 righties is definitely a great advantageous spot, especially for a team that has guys like Ben Rice, who's not getting dusted off at first base or DH in this spot because they want Stanton out there. Trent Grisham, Jazz Chisholm, Jason Dominguez from his left side, where it's the only side he's effective from, and Austin Wells. Those are good lefties for sure. But like, I think that's, the righties are no joke either, but they strike out a lot. So the upside is definitely there at 8,500. Totally understand why the field is what it is. He's my second highest owned pitcher.
Yeah, Gausman hasn't even been that good this year, but there's a lot of pitchers on the slate who have not been great. It's a tough matchup. It's just like I was hand building some lineups and trying different builds for single entry, and I just said so often that I was like, I have $8,500 to $8,900 left in a lineup, and there's nobody else to click on. Like, I know you said you like Noah Cameron, but I don't think you're leaving like $900 in salary on the table to go to Noah Cameron instead of Kevin Gausman. And I think that's what ends up happening running the Sims a bunch as well. He shows up in 28% of lineups, which is, a pretty modest amount, but he is a serviceable pitcher. He has a tough matchup with downside, but it does have some strikeout upside to it. So I'm willing to hold my nose and play a little bit of Kevin Gausman. Not necessarily my favorite overall pitcher for the slate, but I do feel like I'm just kind of forced to get some exposure to him. 7K range. Here's where we've got a handful of pitchers we could talk about. Ben Brown's 18% owned. Zach Gallen's 20% owned. Dustin May is 16% owned. The only pitcher who's priced in the 7K range that isn't pulling ownership, one of your favorites, David Festa, at 1% ownership, Eric.
No thanks.
But similar ownership to Brown, Gallen, and Dustin May. Of the three, do you have a favorite pitcher in the 7K range?
All right, so let's chill out on the David Festa thing. I just like saying Festa Fiesta because it's fun. And then also, he has a 14.5 outs prop today. Let's pump the brakes on David Festa love, or the lack thereof. He has a changeup. That's the one nice thing we can say about him. Dustin May, I think, is actually the most interesting. He's always had good stuff. Why that hasn't transitioned into anything good, I don't know. This is just one of those weird, tough spots to know like what that workload is going to look like. Ohtani can go up to 3 innings now. What happens if Ohtani gets up to 4? That would just suck. And, it's like there's nothing good that is going to come here of, trying to like jam him. But like on this specific slate, there's another guy that we'll talk about a little bit cheaper too, where it's just like, all right, well, if the field's just not going to play them, that's one thing. But the field's now playing a lot more Dustin May than what I was expecting earlier in the day. That was not the case. So yeah, it's going to be a piggyback situation. I don't love playing a guy that, we don't really know what that workload is, but Emmett Sheehan has earned a job here with the Dodgers, and he was traditionally the piggyback guy off of Ohtani, but we only saw the two of them go like 4-4 or 4-5 the other time around. And that's where it just gets difficult for me, because now you have to deal with like, what are the pitch counts going to be for Ohtani leading into this guy? And then you get into like an 8th inning and you got to guarantee that he's going to be done on a Dodger team that needs to start winning baseball games again. Like they need to start putting the pedal down again. They're going to turn it over to their pen coming off of the weekend and just the ridiculousness that was getting swept by Milwaukee. So I got to think that they'll be quick trigger if Dustin May puts himself in any trouble in the 7th and 8th. And if you just kind of like do the math here with Ohtani and what that pitch count can be, maybe at his ownership, I start trimming it down, but boy, do the Sims like him. And boy, is he showing up in my lineups.
Did you see the Astros lineup today? So my answer, my favorite pitcher in the 7K range is going to be Zach Gallen. There's no Yanyer Diaz in the Astros lineup today. We know Jordan is still out. The bottom of this lineup, it is Jesus not great. Like this is a not good version of the Astros lineup.
Well, we're gonna play the Zach Gallen pitching outs game here quick. Dude, that lineup is atrocious. Like, it's not a great lineup as is without Alvarez, without Pena, but now you take Diaz out, and not only that, but like, let me look at some of the other pieces that's just like they could have prioritized and at least like had something that looked all right there. So yeah, no Diaz. Cooper Hummel has been sent to the Shadow Realm. Chas McCormick's never going to be heard from again. Mauricio Dubuon would have been an upgrade. Chas McCormick's batting 7th. Mauricio Dubuon 6th. Trammell batting 5th. I mean, good Lord Christ almighty. Zach Allen, if you can't do it today, buddy, you can't do it. You just can't do it anymore.
I mean, you just look at some of the other pitchers that we have in the 7, like everything's kind of a little bit dicey. Like Ben Brown has strikeout upside, but he is terrible. Dustin May, you just talked about some of the concerns. Do we know for 100% certain that Dustin May is even going to pitch today? I think he's probably going to pitch. Do we know that for 100%? And then how far is Ohtani going to go? How does it impact Dustin May? Some of those situations are always a little bit dicey. I know that we're getting Dustin May in lineups right now. I just think it's so hard to project what the downside is for a pitcher like Dustin May tonight. So kind of by default, Zach Allen. It's also nice that just as we started this talking point, the Astros lineup came out. I looked at it, I was like, this is an easy tiebreaker for me once I saw the Astros starting 9.
I mean, I'm betting this on ProfitX right now. And Zach Allen on Onyx under 2.5 earned runs -135. Yes, please. So I'm going to split exposure. I'm just going to bet a money line. I'm going to bet a Zach Allen because I can't run my stuff right now, but I really, really like that from a betting perspective.
Yeah. So Zach Allen, and once again, it's who are the other pitchers we're comparing him to in the 7K range? It's Ben Brown, who once again strikeout upside, but is just really not a great pitcher. And you got Dustin May, who has also been wildly inconsistent. He's going to be coming out of the bullpen as a long reliever today. But we don't even know that for 100% certain. Is he actually going to come in? Because sometimes these pitchers don't end up pitching. If he does come in, how many innings he's going to end up going. Overwhelmingly, the most likely scenario is that Dustin May comes in. But either way, I mean, I'm just looking at the other options. And Zach Allen's the one in the 7K range that interests me the most. Boy, I don't know who I like as a cash game pitcher to recommend to everybody beyond Shane Baz. But I could kind of be enticed to throw Zach Allen out there now that the Astros lineup. There's nobody who you consider safe other than Shane Baz as a cash game pitcher today.
No, Shane Baz is about the only guy that you feel. So I think cash games, the other two, you're playing one of Gausman or Kirby. I was having that conversation with Clintwood 83 a little bit in our Discord earlier. I just can't stomach playing a pitcher that isn't one of those three. I mean, Zach Gallen maybe put himself into the conversation. We'll see where ownership lands on him. Plus he's 7,500. If that gets you a fifth St. Louis bat that you really, need to have or want to have in cash, maybe it upgrades a Pajes into a Herrera, which I would be a big fan of. Ivan Herrera looks incredible today, but I can't vouch for doing anything outside of those 3.5 guys, I would say today. I'll put Zach Allen in just as the salary saver at this point.
And now finally, the pitchers in the 6K range. None of them are very popular. We don't have a single pitcher who's priced below 7K that's pulling more than 15% ownership. There's a guy here in Jacob Lopez who I think I've been playing for like a month and a half now. And I mean, there was slates where I was playing him where he was 3% owned and offenses were 30% owned against him. The numbers all year have just indicated a pretty solid caliber starting pitcher. He's underperformed his peripheral stats. A lot of that has to do with that ballpark in Sacramento is a train wreck. But I mean, you look at his numbers overall for the year. He's got a 4.2 ERA, a 3.54 expected ERA, a 28% strikeout rate. He's $6,800 and isn't pulling ownership again. On a slate where the pitching options aren't great, I think he pretty clearly delivers the most upside of any pitcher sub 8K.
Not only that, a 314 BABIP. I mean, we're talking big numbers as far as like maybe some positive regression. I would say like a 75% strand rate's maybe a tad high. I mean, I'm seeing Steamer and Zips and everybody sitting like in the low 70%, like most good starting pitchers are going to be. But yeah, 75% strand rate, maybe a little high, but like 314 BABIP, that's got to come down. So you're definitely going to run into more positive regression there. This is just a ballpark that I talk about all the time. Pitching. Arlington is not a hitter's park. It has not been since its creation. Since what? I remember 2020. It was definitely around because they played the World Series there with the Dodgers when they ended up winning out there. But this ballpark is definitely just putting Jack Leiter into play, putting Lopez into play. But Lopez is definitely the side of it that I like the most because for tournaments, I would like my pitchers to somehow find a way to upside. And it is very clear that the pitch mix is the upside here. He can definitely spin it. He is getting strikeouts. He gets ahead in counts, gets swing and miss. The main thing he has to do is just avoid some of these hard hit batted balls in play that just kind of come out and snag him. And I would say this, as you said, his peripherals are really good. 32.9% hard hit. 218 expected batting average, and the 24-degree launch angle far less of a concern in Arlington than it is in Sacramento.
And then Sniffs1234 in Discord asked, how do we feel about Leiter? You had mentioned him as a potential contrarian option. Jack Leiter, any other sub 7K pitchers you're liking today? For me, it's really Jacob Lopez as the guy.
Yeah, the thing about Leiter is that we know he's a better pitcher than what he had at the beginning of this season. I mean, his stuff still looks okay, and coming out of college, he's not going to be that guy, I don't think, ever. They've also kind of limited his workload. Like, he's been sub 90 pitches pretty much the entire season. Hasn't hit the 100 pitch mark once, which is kind of surprising. But the walks have come up and bit him in some spots. He finds a way to compound errors. And I think we'll see strikeout stuff start to emerge purely because he's got like 4 pitches that all seem as though they'll get more swing and miss than what they have so far this season. He throws a slider, changeup, he throws a curve, like a slurve type, and then a sinker. But yeah, it's been tough sledding for Jack Leiter. The A's are a nice spot though when you get Butler and Kurtz, and that's the main thing to point out. Like, they're really good. Lawrence Butler, less so good recently, but Nick Kurtz is confirmed very good. They just strike out a bunch, and you're getting a 28% and a 33% strikeout guy in the top 3. Yeah, Jacob Wilson is sandwiched between the middle of them at 7.7%, but like, you still get multiple opportunities in this lineup, and Max Muncy in there, 31%. There are some strikeouts to be had. So I don't know. He's a decent enough punt option, and I didn't think he was even going to be this popular, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Also, just want to point out to people, definitely beneficial for the pitchers in the game that the game is being played in Texas and not Sacramento. That is a big difference for the hitters versus pitchers. Sniffs1234 asked if I'm liking stacking against Leiter for today, but no, it's not one of my priority stacks. Not really getting too much of Leiter either. There's just, there's a lot of spots overall on the board and other spots that I'm preferring, both at pitcher and also at offense. Any other pitchers you want to talk about on DraftKings? If not, we will talk on the FanDuel side of pitching.
How many times have we had like chalk pitchers going up against Colorado, and now nobody is clicking on Michael McGreevy? Like, nobody. A guy with a 1.03 whip, is he good? No, but other than like pitch count concern, where he's gone 80 or less in 3 of his 4. The other one, he went 101 pitches against the Dodgers and just kind of ate it at the end of that. But Michael McGreevy, nobody wants to take a shot against Colorado here.
One thing that is, what has he done in the minor? Because he hasn't made a start in a month now.
No, he doesn't strike out a lot in the minors either. That's kind of the main question here. But does it matter when Colorado is going to strike out more than like most AAA teams are this season? Like, that's kind of the point. It's like, we've had mega chalk, and now nobody goes to Max McGreevy. But yeah, if you've got his AAA stuff, I had it up earlier, but it is not good for what it's worth.
He got destroyed in his last. I can't believe they called him up. His last 2 outings in the minor leagues, 8 innings.
Yep.
3 home runs.
Yep.
15 runs. And they're like, we need to get this guy back up in the big leagues.
Yep. It's getting hot. It's getting warmer in some spots. Coors should be a good fix though, right?
Yeah. It seems, to say the least, it seems like an odd time to be calling him up.
Yeah. It's weird to not even be talking about Kadai Senga on this slate. Pitch count, just no chance. Carlos Rodon, no chance. Just kind of like looking through, because there's name recognition that exists on this slate. It's just you can't really play those guys, which kind of sucks. I think Noah Cameron's still criminally underowned in that game environment. I get it. His projection is not good at like 12. I get it. He's not necessary, I suppose, but $8K for a guy who I think has outperformed any expectation you would have had for Noah Cameron coming into this year. I'll take a couple of shots off. Oh, good. Jared Duran goes leadoff homer off of Zach Wheeler. I don't need that today.
So let's look at pitching on the FanDuel side really quick. Most of the things that we talked about on DraftKings are going to apply to FanDuel. I can't believe Shane Baz is only 11% owned on FanDuel. Gausman's 18% owned. Kirby's 13%. Gallen's 12%. Baz at 11%. That's the guy I want to be playing for FanDuel, both for cash and GPPs. I think he's the best option.
Facts. I don't think there's a lot else to say. It's kind of funny when you go over to FanDuel and it's just like, what is going on here? Like, and then you just are mad at yourself. You didn't deal with the 20 minutes it takes to actually enter FanDuel lineups, making sure you're a human, doing all of that song and dance crap. But it'd be worth it to play Shane Baz at that ownership today. That's for sure.
Yeah, I like Baz a whole bunch over on FanDuel. If I want to be contrarian, you can get Jacob Lopez also at really low ownership on FanDuel if you're looking to save salary. Otherwise, things we talked about on the DraftKings side of things with pitching mostly applies to the FanDuel side
What's
as
Gallon's
well.
ownership? What's Gallon's ownership over there?
12%.
Yeah. I'm pulling it up here. I just ran it.
Ownership's flat
Why is Ben Brown 11% owned?
because he's $7,200.
Oh, there you go. That would make sense. Yeah, that's cheap. I have no interest in playing him on DK. On FanDuel, I have interest.
We got a super chat from Amy. Amy wants to know who our favorite options are for tiers. So let's talk about that before we go and talk about our favorite stacks, and then we'll build some lineups as well. Well, for tiers, starting with tier 1, my favorite option is Ronald Acuna.
My favorite option is Shohei Ohtani.
Totally makes sense. Tier 2. In tier 2, that is going to be, boy, tier 2 is really not great with options. I'm going to go with Corbin Carroll.
Corbin Carroll.
Tier 3, that is going to be for me. Oh boy, we can start looking at the Coors Field game now.
Yep.
I'll go with Ivan Herrera in Coors.
Yeah, Ivan Herrera by a lot.
Tier 4, that is going to be, boy, they made it really difficult to stack in tiers today.
Kind of like
tier 4, that is going to be Eugenio Suarez for me.
It's going to be Junior Caminero.
And then in tier 5, that is going to be, I'll go with Matt Olson just to correlate with Acuna.
Wilson Contreras by a lot.
And then finally in tier 6, no pitchers today. The pitchers are so shitty that they were like, yeah, we're not going to do pitchers. We're not going to do pitchers. I
kind of like it. I kind of like it.
That'll be Nolan Arenado for me.
Brent Rooker.
All right. So Amy, there's a breakdown of Eric and I's favorite options by each spot in tiers. So now let's go ahead and talk stacks. We got that question from Cap and Akella. Who is our favorite stack to be playing in single entry? So a little bit of a decision point to be making here, Eric, because we have a Coors Field game, and that is where a shit ton of ownership is going to, because that's just what happens whenever the Rockies are playing now. The St. Louis Cardinals pulling 16% ownership as a team, but with 23% chance of being the top scoring team, according to our top stacks tool. And then you got, as the second most popular team, with also the second highest odds of being the top scoring team, the Rockies. So you got the Rockies and the Cardinals 1-2 in the top stacks tool in terms of both ownership as well as top stack odds. Are you going to be looking at Coors Field for single entry, or are you going to go to a lower owned spot?
The San Francisco Giants are my favorite stack on the slate. They're going to be my single entry 5-man. You get them out of San Francisco. That's number 1. You're going to put them in front of Bryce Elder today. The Elder Wand, just like in Harry Potter, is broken. You need to find your way. Oh, spoiler alert for everybody who's going to watch the TV show. But yeah, no, Elder Wand, it gets snapped in half. Shout out Harry Potter for being a real one. But you get an opportunity to get Ramos, Devers, Adames, Chapman, guys who are hitting the ball really hard against a dude with a 46.7% hard hit, 297 expected batting average, 509 expected slugging, and a 10% barrel percentage. Oh, and did I mention the weather? A little bit different than playing mid-60s, mid-50s every freaking game of your season. It's 86. It's 70% humidity. The wind's blowing out. Give me San Francisco.
A couple of super chats came in. So I am going to go with the Atlanta Braves, which, if anybody's playing Coors Field, like, I'm not going to fault you. It is clearly not a bad team to be rostering today. There's a reason why we have them with a 23% chance of being the top scoring team on the slate, and nobody else is above 7%. If you just asked me who is going to be the team that scores the most runs today, we have the Cardinals projected for 7.2 runs. That's more than 1.5 runs higher than any other team on the slate. They are so popular, though, and they're going to be so wildly popular in single entry. I just don't like playing teams that are that popular in single entry. It's such an uphill climb to come in first place or finish at the top of a GPP, even if they end up being the top scoring team. So I'm going to be getting away from Coors Field in single entry and then just hoping that that is just not a spot that goes wild, which, by the way, is the most likely scenario. But for me, I'm going to be going with the Atlanta Braves against Hayden Birdsong. This is still a very, very talented Atlanta Braves lineup. They have a lot of upside. They've just been wildly inconsistent overall for the year. But those are the two teams I like the most, Eric. The two teams I get the most exposure to overall, well, I should say relative to ownership. The team I get the most of is still the Cardinals, but relative to ownership of the field, I'm about even with the field on the Cardinals for large field GPPs, whereas I'm overweight to the field on both the Atlanta Braves and the San Francisco Giants in Atlanta. Favorable hitting conditions today. So those are the two top teams that I like the most. You're going with the Giants here. I'm going to be going with the Braves in single entry, but I think both are good choices. Like I said, if you want to go with Coors Field, I'm not going to fault you. Ownership is just a little bit too high for me, and I prefer to be a little bit more contrarian. Let's see what we have for super chats that just came in here. One is from Michael Wynn. Worried about a gallon pitch count, and then he says trade piece. I mean, is there any documented evidence that players potentially get traded all of a sudden start to throw way less pitches? Because Zach Gallen has not thrown less than 83 pitches in a start the entire season. His most recent starts, 88, 103, 101 pitches. If he pitches shitty, sure, he could be limited, but I haven't seen anything that would indicate that they're going to hold him to like 5 innings or 70 pitches or anything like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of times what happens is that one instance of one guy either getting pulled out of a game or limited or something, like maybe you got burned by a one time. We are a week and a half away from a trade deadline still. And if anything, people need to see Zach Gallen actually be good. So like, I'd be more inclined to argue that like his value goes up by being, able to pitch decently well here in a spot going up against Houston. So like, I'll just take the inverse stance. I don't think it's something you should be thinking about too much or probably be thinking about at all. Definitely something you want to think about next week on a Wednesday or a Thursday where guys can like get pulled out of a game on a Wednesday. But Thursday, you'll get the lineups as they roll out after the deadline. So it won't even matter.
Yeah. So the biggest concern I have with Gallen is that he hasn't been good this year. That's a way bigger concern for me than the pitch count. But it's just, what are the other options that we have for today? And then Jeff Williams says he's playing 3 lineups in the 2-2-2. Is Elder in 1 okay? I wouldn't do it. It's baseball. Random things happen. I'm not going to say it's impossible for him to have a good start, but I'm not playing any of Elder today.
Yeah, I would rather do just about anything than play Bryce Elder in a DFS contest today. Like just about anything. Go ahead. Throw it out there.
We'll Elder or Austin Gomber?
I think I'd rather play Austin Gomber for the savings.
I'd rather play Elder than Austin Gomber, but
okay, that's probably true too for me. I just wanted to be a dick. Bryce Elder is bottom 3 on this slate for me. Obviously, I'm stacking against him in single entry, so take that for what you will.
What are you going to do with Coors Field in large field GPPs, like the Rockies, the Cardinals? You see here, I mean, I've got them without making any adjustments to the Sims. The Cardinals show up in 24% of lineups for large field stuff. The Rockies show up in 10%. For large field GPPs, I think these teams are much more palatable than small field single entry stuff. It's just hard to get, like way overweight to a field that's, nearly 20% owned. Yeah,
and we know they're going to get steamed up. Like we know this song and dance. We know exactly what we're going to be dealing with. So for me, I'm in the same line of thinking as you, where for me, I'm playing in the $5. I'm going to play a handful of lineups, Colorado, St. Louis, and I'm not going to think about it too much. In single entry and in the World Championship qualifier and a bunch of the moonshot lineups and a bunch of the other stuff where, it's going to be more limited fields or smaller contests, under 10,000, if you will, 5,000 for that qualifier. Like I'm still going to probably get away from those kind of stacks. So even as you get into like that next tier, like not the 50,000 contest entries, but like something sub 10,000, it's really hard for me to not think that the ownership on that game specifically and the St. Louis side specifically aren't going to get jammed. So yeah, for me, it's going to be trying to get to a little bit more Woodruff in large field and probably hit more of the old roulette stack, and just let the St. Louis do its thing in the Sims here. But I definitely don't want to play them in single entry today.
And then Einstein asked, any interest in Arizona? They're one of a lot of teams that I think makes sense to have in like 4 to 6 or 7% of lineups today. The teams that I really want to be prioritizing for large field GPPs, it's the Rockies, the Cardinals, the Braves, the Giants, and then the Rays as well. We know how favorable the hitting conditions are at George Steinbrenner Field. They're also getting Sean Burke on the mound against them, and the White Sox shitty bullpen behind that. So The Rays are going to make sense at home on a lot of slates, especially against the Chicago White Sox. So those are the teams that I'm prioritizing for today. Any other teams you would add to the mix as priorities before we build out a couple lineups in the single lineup sims?
Tom Olson, elder better than Sean Burke. That would be in the bottom 3 that I referred to before. So there you go. If you wanted to know, Sean Burke, Austin Gomber, and him. There you go. Those are your bottom 3 on the slate, in my opinion.
All right. Want to build some lineups then?
Yeah, let's party.
All right. So let's go to the single lineup sims, and we'll build one lineup for DraftKings. We'll build one lineup for FanDuel. We'll start on the DK side of things, Eric. What team do you want to be stacking in this lineup?
Let's go. I mean, we're both San Francisco and Atlanta. Let's go to the Atlanta side for yours. I want to see what you're doing with Atlanta because I know what I'm doing with San Francisco. I built the lineup already.
All right. So how about this? Let's build some sort of stack that is only using hitters from the San Francisco and Atlanta game.
Let's fucking
and we'll
go.
just
That's
fill
beautiful.
it in with whatever pitchers the sims like afterwards. So we'll go Matt Olson at first base. Let's see. Let's just sort by projections. Whoever's projecting the highest at each position from this game is who we'll throw in.
Oh, well, right. Drake Baldwin's going to look better than Murphy then, I guess. But I was going to go Murphy.
Yeah, we'll go Baldwin. Shortstop, we will go Willy Adames. We might have, I guess we'll skip Acuna just to give ourselves some salary relief. And then we'll go with Ramos, Profar, and Lee. That gives us $8,400. Of course, because I'm a moron, I accidentally clicked clear lineup instead of complete this lineup. So,
one more time. Phenomena. I'll just sing for the people. I want to know what love is.
Wasn't that? All right, there we go. Now complete this lineup. And I forgot to select the rest of the.
You are so unbelievable.
There we go. All right, so here's the lineup. Ended up getting Shane Baz and Ben Brown as pitchers. We'll run the sim and see if this looks decent or not. I, for the record, don't love Ben Brown, but look, ended up being positive there with a 13.1% sim ROI. So in general, Braves and the Giants both ended up looking okay here. This lineup is a 4-4 stack. Let's go to the FanDuel side of things now. Do you want to do this, but for cores on FanDuel and see what kind of crazy chalky lineup we can make?
Yes, I would.
All right. Let's just build a crazy chalk cores lineup over on FanDuel and see how that sims out. By the way, the updated ownership on the Braves for FanDuel, not the Braves, the Rockies and Cardinals, it is 21% for the Cardinals heading into lock on FanDuel and 7% for the Rockies. All right.
Okay.
I mean, the prices are just wrong here. We'll do the same deal, though. Whoever projects the best at each position is who will plug in. And we'll see if that gives us some reasonable. Like, why is Nolan Arenado $3,300 today?
Because life is an illusion and nothing matters anymore.
We're going to have to go to some Rockies hitters. So I'll put Tovar in. We'll go to Moniak. Okay, so we're tapped out on Cardinals hitters now. So who's the next best projected Rockies hitter? All right, let's see. If we go to Jordan Beck here for cheap, that still gives us 70. Okay, we're going to have to make somebody a little bit cheaper. Let's take Goodman out. And we'll go to Beck. And then at utility, let's see who's a little cheaper from Colorado. Go to Brenton Doyle.
Brenton Doyle
8K.
rules.
Who projects the best for 8K?
Going to be Ben Brown again. It's going to be Ben Brown again.
Is it?
Pain.
No, Dustin
May. Be careful of him on FanDuel where you don't get the bump. I will definitely let that be known. That's terrifying with no quality.
My preference, by the way, would just be Jacob Lopez instead, but
same.
We'll just run it with this as is.
Yeah, that's good.
And there we go. By the way, shout out to Sotex for some good advice where he said, don't hit clear, Greg. Did my best on the second run there. That was well needed advice. But yeah, once again, solid looking lineup. Going to be crazy popular on the FanDuel side of things. We got Contreras 30% owned, Donovan nearly 30% owned, 20% ownership to Alec Burleson. So Cardinals still look viable on FanDuel, but try to find some ways to make it contrarian or else you're just playing a lineup that is crazy duped. So Eric, we are running short on time here, almost at lock, but we'll really quickly give out some dong picks. Not going to have time to read off your guys' picks from chat because lock is approaching in just about 30 seconds here. But I want to hear from you, Eric. Who are you picking to go yard today to close out the show?
All right. So we have a bunch of home run plays in the old premium Discord. I ended up on 8 today, coming off of 2. Okay. Sunday was awful. Sunday, there was nothing available on the board that I found to be remotely interesting, positive EV. I don't know if books just decided, hey, everybody's going to bet it coming off of the break. And now it's Monday where it's like, hey, please come bet these home runs. But it looks much better today. And then from a DFS perspective, looks pretty good as well. Willy Adames. This is getting him out of Coors. He's a fly ball hitter. You're getting in Atlanta with advantageous wind and an advantageous pitcher, Bryce Elder. He's been good against righties this season. My highest owned shortstop, Willy Adames. Actually, no, that's a lie. Tovar is my highest owned shortstop, but second highest owned shortstop, Willy Adames.
Don't mind it. Adames is in my single entry lineup, and I'm going to be going with Matt Olson at first base. So I know we're not reading off home run picks from chat, but I'll tell you what. Tom Olson is the same home run pick as me today. I guarantee it. So guys, thank you all very much for watching. If you have not done yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Good luck with your lineups tonight. Eric and I will be back here tomorrow. Peace, guys.